Johansen. I'm 32 years old and I'm the owner of St. Paul's Apothek in Aarhus. So basically what I come from is a bachelor degree in sports and science at the university, and as a lot of other persons in the industry, this started as a job on the side, as a study job, and it just became more and more like from a hobby to a passion. So when I finished my bachelor, actually I worked in some different cocktail bars, and we started working on a catering concept. So 14 days after I handed in my bachelor, I started my own company, which was a cocktail catering company.
In Jylland?
Yeah, in Aarhus, Jylland. Or most of the time actually we were in Copenhagen every 14 days. And we were starting with smaller customers, and then we got bigger and bigger customers. Some of the biggest commercial brands in Denmark, and Vestas and Siemens and Danske Bank catering for them, because we delivered a good service and quality products and homemade juices.
And that was probably at a time before anybody was really doing that.
That was at a time before anybody actually delivered this. It was more like if you went and ordered a cocktail bar or catering, it would be like rum and coke, gin and tonic, stuff like that. So us bringing in like fresh ingredients and homemade signature cocktail was part of the news. So we grew like insanely big, very, very fast. And it was like part of a like more step plan in also traveling a lot. So you only got to work like every Saturday. So that was amazing. So you could also travel. So I traveled a lot, participated in a lot of different competitions at that time. So there was a lot of personal education also on the side in that time. And on the same time this happened, we were also looking for a venue to open up a cocktail bar in Aarhus. And actually that took 2 years. We know which part of the city we want to be in, and we could see where it was going. But it was impossible to get any venues at this area. And then we was looking at more different venues in the city, but nothing was good enough. And actually after 1.5 years, almost giving up, I biked next to this fantastic venue, which was just closed. It was an old pharmacy from 1899. Yeah. And then we went into the hardcore, what you call it, broker discussion that went over, the negotiations that went over for like 3 months. Every second day the broker like no, and then turned down the phone, and then the next day he called me again. So it took a lot of time, but it was amazing when we finally got it and made the contract, because it's an amazing venue. But it also consisted of us having a restaurant. So it wasn't part of the initial plan to open a cocktail bar. But on the sideline of this, we also was approached by a very good and famous chef who has been outside the industry for a year and was now looking to go back. And he got working in several Michelin-starred restaurants. And we created this concept out of both our passion. So he had, of course, a passion for food. I had a passion for cocktail. And how could we connect this into a concept? And that's what the concept is at the restaurant now. We don't serve any wine. We serve food and cocktail pairings. So we have 6 different dishes all paired together with cocktails. And I always say when people ask, so how come that worked? I say, of course, we have decided. It's so funny, we think of wine as the most, like, the world's best pairing. And it's like, who decided that? It was for Danish sake, we started traveling on charter, what we called Grisefest, at like the 70s and 80s. At that point, we didn't even have red wine at home. So that was brought here by supermarket chains, and we started drinking wine. And then we started combining with food, and what you've been seeing all over the world. So basically, you could say you have like 2 different grapes. You have a white and a red one, and you compare that with all world's food. And we challenged that a little bit by saying, yeah, we have 1,000 different spirits and liqueurs and spices and fruits that we can combine together into cocktails that can create another dimension to the food. But we just have to be as professional as the chefs are in the kitchen to do this, and that's very important. And we work with different types of pairing. So when we have like a direct pairing, or we have like an opposite, and we have also sometimes where we take an ingredient out of the dish, or maybe replace it, or different. You can say different things that go well together, but you don't have them in a certain dish, but then you add them in a cocktail on the side like that. So it's very many approaches, and then we started working a lot with textures, because textures are very, very important. But it's fun. We always talk about flavors, but we never talk about textures, and that's very important, especially if we have a main course. If we serve something for a red piece of meat, we can't serve an old-fashioned or sass like that, because like 90% of our guests, they wouldn't like it because they're not hardcore cocktail drinkers. Actually, 90% of our guests never had a cocktail before in their life. So we have to approach it in a different way. And then we tried a lot of different styles, and we start learning how it works together. And for instance, for a red steak, we need to have some egg white, for instance, because it cleanses the palate every time you have a taste, and also gives a full mouthfeel to it, so it can easily be paired together with a piece of red meat, and actually has that amazing ability that it cleanses your palate. So every time you have a sip of it, then it cleanses your palate and you taste the dish all over, and that's an amazing experience. So that's really nice.
So it's like the whole experience, like there's so many aspects to it.
Yeah.
You mentioned one thing that's quite interesting. You said that maybe 99% of all your guests never had a cocktail before, which brings me to the interesting thing about this, is that it's interesting. You started a restaurant cocktail bar before there was actually any hardcore cocktail bar in Aarhus. What was the thoughts behind this, starting out a restaurant bar when they weren't even a cocktail bar?
Exactly. We had so many, I had so many approaches from bartenders in the industry. It's like, why are you opening a cocktail bar and a restaurant in Aarhus? Why not doing it in Copenhagen? Exactly, that's why, because nobody did it before. So it's an open market, nobody's here. Basically, we can create our own market. And if you have the right and the humble approach to it, it can be done. And we showed it could be done, because basically we did what nobody else had done in Denmark, for instance, in Copenhagen. Actually, nobody's done it in Europe. You don't have this concept even in London, in Paris, in Barcelona. You had some like small pop-up doing it, but I haven't seen anybody doing this as a concept where you do it, because it's also quite challenging, really challenging, having two different kitchens basically working together at the same time. And then also the main aspect is why I think we became quite successful, is we had always had the focus on the guests. So we didn't do pairings that we thought was the perfect pairings. We made pairings that we knew that the guest would also feel like it was a pairing working for them, because we serve like 300 persons per week, and we have to know that all of these guests, they love the cocktails. So we can't do anything like really crazy challenging for them. We need to create something what we call like a mainstream cocktail, but with identity. So it has to have a certain mouthfeel to it, a certain taste, certain flavors, but we can't go like crazy with, like, for instance, rum or tequila or something like that. We have to do it in a fine balance in the middle, but still we want to create something with identity and personality, and we want to challenge people and move them a little bit. And we moved them quite a lot the last 4 years. We can do stuff that we couldn't do 4 years ago now, because we learned the guests how to drink and how to accept different flavors, and that's really interesting.
Which is it's interesting because it says a bit about the market that you're actually operating in. What's it like to have a cocktail bar in a city where there aren't many other cocktail bars, where people maybe aren't used to or know about cocktails yet? What's that like?
It's always interesting. You have two different audiences. Of course, you have the audience that knows to drink cocktails and they can call different spirits, and then you have like a huge group of people not knowing cocktails and never having cocktails like this before. They're maybe used to like a frozen strawberry daiquiri or mojito or something like that. And when you bring them in here, you need to be quite humble. And if they call for some of those classic cocktails that they get other places, like, of course we can create some of them for you guys, but you're here, why not try something new? And people tend to be very open-minded when they're here, even though people never tried the concept or tried to have cocktails before. And that's really nice, because our main audience is actually 40, 50 years plus. That's like 90% of our guests here. So it's a mature audience that comes here, but they come into the concept with open arms and open heart, and most of the time it blows their mind, and that's really amazing to give them that special wow feeling of something they never tried before. And they always tell it's been amazing because it's a completely new dimension to dining and drinking.
Yeah, because it's just different than anything else you've ever seen almost in the rest of Denmark. Well, let me ask you, how do you see the cocktail scene in Aarhus compared to most of our viewers in our website they're from Copenhagen. We got some international as well, but how do you see the cocktail scene in Aarhus compared to Copenhagen, but also international? Because you've been competing in world class, did well in world class, so you've seen a lot.
Yeah, the market is really growing. We can see we have Aarhus is growing massively. Actually, the population is growing around like 40,000 persons per year now. It's so massively invested in Aarhus. And you see that there's a lot of talk about Aarhus by a lot of different magazines, newspapers.
And even the restaurant scene like Michelin, right?
Exactly, and we got the Michelin stars now finally, so that's also nice. And we are with the cultural capital of next year. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now in Aarhus, and that's really interesting. So I see a lot of growth in the whole market, and you can see that also. You have a lot of people more focused on quality. You have a lot of more people going out for restaurants. So it's evolving quite quickly. Where you see, for instance, Copenhagen has been there for a long time, so it's different here. It's really there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and in 2 years it's going to be completely different, and 2 more years. So the market is very interesting.
Ever changing market right now. So how compared to the international scene?
Compared to the international scene, there's for the food scene is really high. For the food scene is really high. For the cocktail scene, of course we're lacking some more cocktail bars. So we'd like some of you guys to come over here and create some cocktails bar. I talked with Rasmus about that. We need some more Copenhagen guys over here.
Someone might do it one day.
Yeah, we're the only one creating the market over here, so we challenge you guys.
That's a challenge right there, guys. You heard it here. Where do you see the cocktail scene moving? Where's it going? You mentioned that the scene is changing all the time. How do you see the market in Aarhus in 5 years?
I see the market like it's hard to tell what the market is, but where we can see it's going with the whole cocktail scene is really going fast You see a lot of people trying out creating cocktails at home. We have a lot of people like want to hire cocktail seminars and tastings, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So hopefully a lot is going to change. We look forward to. We would like to have like more places in the cities for going out for a cocktail. That could be really nice. And also international, there's a lot of potential for the city. We have a lot of companies, larger companies, putting the headquarters here right now. So also for that part, which is quite an important part, because before Aarhus has been a student city. Mainly it's been a student city, and that it's changing right now.
I was just about to talk about that, because that's always been the argumentation that I've heard, that well, Aarhus is a student city, you can't really, blah 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 blah. But there is business people here. There is huge businesses here. You have a lot of people. There's a lot of places with a lot of people with money. So why shouldn't the market be here? Which brings me to the last question: is so what's the plans for St. Paul's Apothek and you? Now you've made it this far, and you've been a huge part in creating the scene in Aarhus.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
The next step is we're already actually doing it right now. So in 1.5 months, we're gonna open a new venue here in Aarhus. So we look forward to that really much, and that's it's gonna be a cocktail bar, and it's gonna be a quite large venue. I think we're gonna have a capacity of a small 100 persons in there. basically in two different parts of this venue, and we really look forward for this. So it's a lot of stuff going on right now, creating this whole concept of bringing the concept together. So basically, we wanted to create St. Paul's Apothek, but without the food. So high level of service. We're gonna have table service all night. There will be no standing people in the bar. We only got take people in for if we have a chair for them, and we're gonna have a table reservation system for a part of the bar, so you can book a table both for smaller groups, 2 persons, but also for larger groups, and try and create what you can call it. We're gonna be focused on cocktail installations that will be focusing more on a lot of your senses. So it's not only going to be a taste, but it's going to be all of your senses that are going to be in focus there, that we're going to play around with, and also a lot of different ingredients. But it's not going to be anything specific that we want to narrow it down. So we want to be open-minded and creative.
And focus only on cocktails. So it's going to be like a classic cocktail bar.
Yeah, you can see it's gonna.
Restaurant cocktail bar.
It is, and then again, not. I think you're not gonna see any classic things about this cocktail bar at all. Basically, this is gonna be a new concept in Denmark, not seen anywhere before. I promise you. The whole venue, the whole cocktail menu, everything is gonna be completely different from anything you've been seeing before, also in Copenhagen. So
That's
look
amazing.
forward to that.
Yeah, that's a big promises. But we're gonna show up on the day that you open. We're gonna be there with the camera. We're gonna show everyone what you've been
Sounds
doing,
great.
working on. Definitely look forward to it, and
Yeah.
good luck with it. Thank you for being a part of this.